go. Yes, people, welcome back to Process. Today we are joined by bodybuilder, online coach, YouTuber, everything you can probably think of. George Osborne, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thank you for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure. I love doing podcasts, love talking. I'm a bit of a waffler sometimes as well. And when I do my YouTube videos, I think I'm waffling here too much. I have to trim it down. But on podcasts, I can just say whatever the fuck I want.
Mate, that's the best thing. Honestly, it's easy enough for me doing a podcast when someone just rambles for the full time. Just makes my job nice and easy. But we touched a little bit beforehand. Obviously, I'm coming from a football background. You said you played football a little bit yourself when you were younger. Where were you playing? Yes. And kind of talk about that journey.
So I didn't actually play 7-a-side. That was obviously like under, I don't know what age that was. When you was like really young, you used to play 7-a-side, and then you obviously transitioned to 11-a-side. Yeah. I started at 11-a-side. That was my first season. And I started puberty quite young. I was a big lad at 12, 13, bigger than everyone else in my team. So I was a bit of a bully. Like I could put people on the floor, and I was top scorer in my first ever season of playing football, that sort of stuff, just because I was big and quick. And then I progressed actually up the ladder. So I think at the age of 14, I signed with Luton Academy. That was till 17. Yeah, 17. And we went on football tours like Sweden, typical go abroad, that sort of stuff. So when I was like 15, 16, I was living like the footballer sort of life, and then I just I got to that point where I didn't really know what to do in my life, and everyone started to grow taller than me when I was like that sort of young 12-year-old that used to be good, and he used to be good because he was big, sort of declined as I got further into it. And then everyone else started growing bigger, and people just better than me. And in the end, I got dropped because I wasn't good enough. I just wasn't good enough anymore. And I was just like, fuck this. So I did get into playing a bit of semi-pro football back then, if you want to call it that, at a fairly decent level. And after that, I was just like, nah, it's not for me, not for me. Yeah. So I just went down the bodybuilding route, and I still love it. Don't get me wrong, I still love it, but I'd rather watch it than play it now. Yeah, that's for sure.
I just clicked for a second there. I remember when I was about 12 or 13, because we had the same age. I think we might have played against each other, We played Luton once. Did you ever play Newcastle?
Yeah, oh, fuck me.
It would have been at Newcastle. It might have been, I swear we played them when I was 12. We got beat. I think you were playing, we got beat off them. I think it was 2-1. I can't remember. I was 12 or 13. So maybe we might have played against each other. It might have been back in the day. Yeah. I've just when you were speaking, I just clicked onto it. But that was years ago. Sorry, what are you going to say?
It was a very good. Sorry, I was going to say I did play a very good academy. I must admit, Luton was one of the best back in. They still are now, But yeah, as I grew, as I just grew, it just kind of, I felt like when I was in the academy, I don't know if you had this, but when they know you're not good enough, they make you know that you're not good enough, and you got kind of put to the side on most things, and it's just like, what's the point? And I was aware of that at 17, even though I was like, fairly young still, and sometimes you're oblivious to that sort of stuff. I was kind of aware that, okay, these guys don't think I'm good enough anymore. Yeah. And I think a lot of it was down to my height and strength. I was quite a small person, and that's why I got into bodybuilding. I was like,
yeah, it's funny that you say that now, with down to your strength, is about, yeah, you're a bodybuilder. But did you get much, I'm big on talking about people coming out of football, because I'm coming out of football myself. Did you get much support? Because I'm guessing you would have played it since you were like a young, how old were you when you started playing football? You said a little bit lower, was it 11 or 12?
About 12, yeah, about 12 I started playing.
Did you get much support from anybody in terms of coaches? Because it's kind of like you said, you're kind of being neglected from the football side of things. As soon as they knew that they weren't going to keep you on, they just kind of pied you off straight from there.
Not at all. Not at all. Didn't get any support at all. Just left to do whatever I wanted. And then I just went and I went to college, and I started playing for the college team. That's kind of how it went from up here just to down here. And even though we had different teams in the college team, that was like first team, second team, third team. Obviously third team not being great, first team being the best. And I was in the first team, but I was just like, this isn't the same, the quality's still not the same. And then that's just kind of, when I went to uni, that's when I just thought, right, I'll just quit playing and just focus on something else.
I think sometimes when you lose, then you get to that point where it's just like, oh, fuck it, this is not for me anymore. Just find something else that can take its place. That's what a lot of people struggle with football, find something else, but you found the bodybuilding. So was that the reason you kind of started bodybuilding in the first place?
Yeah, it was. I mean, like I said, when I was younger, I was big. I could put everyone on the floor quite easily at 12, 13. But then when I was 17, I was getting put on my ass all the time, and they're telling me, you need to get stronger, And I'm thinking, I was agile on my feet. I was very quick, but at the same time, I just wasn't. If someone came over to me and put me on the floor, you know, I'll be down and out for a bit, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore. So, yeah, I mean, that's the reason why I went to gym. I was like, if I can't grow tall, I'll grow wider if I can. And ever since then, it was just a case of the football side of things. I couldn't see a future in that. Like, I couldn't see me progressing. Whereas bodybuilding, I had that progression, you know, constant progression that I found, and I just fell in love with it since then.
Yeah. Did you pick it up quite quickly in terms of the bodybuilding, in terms of like, I don't know, if genetically you kind of built muscle a little bit more, or was it just something that you loved the kind of process of it and learning more about it? What kind of got you hooked into it in the bodybuilding?
I think I already had a bit of background because obviously when you're at academy, you do go into the gym, you do train, you do sort of strength training. And I actually had a coach called Joe Deeney, who was a cage fighter and an ex-professional footballer. And I saw him and I was like, wow, he's fucking big. He's big. And he was doing some shit in the gym. I can't remember what he was doing now, but at the time I was impressed. And it just went from there. And I was just like, okay, cool. I'd had fairly decent legs. Like my lower half was fairly decent just through playing football. Upper half was okay. I've always been quite lean. I've had a good structure. I must admit, I've had good structure for bodybuilding anyway. So when I started training, I just grew quite quickly. And I noticed that throughout the college, and people were like, oh, you're getting bigger and stuff like that when you're like 17, 18, and that sort of shit used to thrive off. Now I just think, fuck that. Don't even tell me about any of that stuff. I'm not interested.
I know what it's like, mate. It's like, the first person to get muscles is always like, fucking hell, look at him. Someone over George over there is getting like, he's got facial. So do you get facial hair quite young as well? That's another thing. Yeah, facial hair. Mate, I'm 24, mate, and I've got absolutely zero there. I'm baby face. I'm hoping
I haven't shaved this beard for years.
You're putting me to shame, mate.
I think I've had this beard now for about 7 years. I've not clean shaved in that long. I never will. I love it. I don't want to know what I look like underneath. I don't know who that person is.
You'll probably look about 12 years young. I know a few of my mates who have shaved theirs off after a while, and it's just like, who are you now? You're a different man. Different man.
Fuck that.
Yeah. So what did you go on to study at college? And I know you went to university after, so what did you kind of do from there?
So I actually did sports diploma at college, and I did I think it was like level 2 coaching badge at college as well. I had the opportunity to do that, so I did that as well. Didn't really take because I was thinking, hang on, I could do like a part-time sort of football coach, referee, and that sort of stuff. But I never went down that sort of route. I just ended up going to uni and studying personal training and fitness management, which when I look back now, if I didn't go, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in now, that's for sure, because I wouldn't have started the YouTube channel and then I would be able to do what I'm doing. But certainly I didn't learn anything much from it, that's for sure. It was very much everything that I knew already in terms of the training, the personal training, even just being a PT at university. Like I had to do work experience for that. I fucking hated it, mate. Hated teaching clients how to squat, deadlift, bench. Just wasn't for me. Because I was beyond that at that time. You know, I was taking bodybuilding seriously when I was at university. Like throughout the whole 3 years I was there, I probably went out about 10, 15 times. Not much at all. I was so dedicated to bodybuilding, sleeping. I'd rather sleep in than go on a night out. So I was very, very serious about what I was doing. And since then I took a step forward. And when I was coming to PT a woman that never squatted in her life, I was like, this is fucking boring. I actually failed even though I was very knowledgeable at the time, I actually failed my personal training qualification, reps level 3 first time round, because someone told me how to use a rowing machine. And I sat there and I was like, well, I'd expect them to know how to use one, not me teaching them. So I was at that level already that I didn't know the basic stuff, which might sound stupid, but at the time I was like, fuck this.
You've got to explain every single basic thing for the instructor course, isn't it? You just got to walk through it, right? You put your legs here. It's just ridiculous, like stupid little things.
Like actually breaking it down.
Yeah, it's worrying the amount of people that get past though. Like I've done when I had my first PT job, I had like a little we call it interview thing. So one of the things was I had to demonstrate in groups of 6, like a circuit thing. And a woman next to me, and I was like, all right, well, you do push-ups, you do deadlifts. And she pulled me and said, how do you do a deadlift? Like, and she passed her level 3 about 2 weeks ago. She didn't like that sort of thing. I'm just like, the people who are passing it at the minute, it's worrying. It is ridiculous. But you mentioned about uni there, you didn't really go out too much. Do you look back, is there any sort of regrets in terms of not going out as much? Because I know what everyone's like at uni these days. Well, obviously pre-COVID, our first year of uni is mainly just going out, really.
I think I could add more of a balance for sure. I think and that's why I went down a bit of the hole at university, because I studied at Southampton. Obviously, I live in Luton, so it's about 2 hour drive from where I am. So I couldn't just go home and see my family every single day or every weekend. It wasn't like that. And a lot of my friends were, even though we did a fitness and personal training course, you know, a lot of them still did go out and enjoy themselves. And I was kind of that extreme bodybuilder who wanted to compete when I was at university. I think they had a show. I remember I applied for, but I bottled it in the end. So I was very dedicated to what I did. And I look back now and I think, yeah, I could have probably gone out a little bit more. Don't get me wrong, the times I went out was good. I did enjoy it, but I certainly could have probably done more of that and still be where I am today. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of people who do that. I think probably because you came from like the football ground and you're probably quite dedicated very young because you came from the academy. Like I know that's what I've always been. Like I didn't really touch alcohol till I was 18 and I didn't really go out or drink and anything like that. And then I had like a stint when I was like 20 years old where I kind of did it all. And then I've kind of like faded off it a little bit now, but probably because of your background. What was your like upbringing like? Were your parents quite regimented and stuff, or were they quite like pushy with your football or anything? Or was it just mainly you?
I had a paper round, an everyday paper round. You know, it's not like a paper round where you do the weekly sort of paper rounds and they've got like the big old stacked pieces of papers and you deliver it to every single house. I actually worked at a newsagent when I think I was 12. That's when I started. So I'd get up at 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock every morning. I'd ride my bike around to an estate and I'd do particular houses. And I used to get paid 20 quid a week from that. So from 12 years old, I was earning money and I was up and about. And even like if I did go out and have a party and stuff like that, I'd still get up at 6:30, even though I get in at 2 o'clock and go do a paper round. I did that till I was 18. So I did that for 6 years. Every day, getting up at 6:30, 7 o'clock every morning. I've always been quite an early bird. I've always been a worker, but it's made me disciplined. You know, it's made me routined. I was in a great position when I was that age. Like as weird as it sounds, like I did have money when I was 12, 13, 14 years old. I was a lot richer, if you want to call it that, compared to my friends. I was earning 80 quid a month, sorry, fucking from my paper round, and that enabled me to buy stuff and have more of a privileged life. But I worked for that. I've always worked for what I've done, and it definitely kept me more as probably why I am like I am today is because of that. And not much changes. So I've been very, very disciplined with that for sure.
Yeah, no, it does humble you, and it's probably you're in the perfect sort of career for it, bodybuilding. You have to be so disciplined, but like you said, getting that life balance is so important. What sort of things have you kind of implemented? I know that you've took like a little social media day off today kind of thing. Is there other little things that you're implementing to have that little bit more balance in life? Because bodybuilding can get really, really serious, especially if you're prepping for a show and stuff like that. Is there anything that you've kind of changed over the years that you've done?
Have I? No, I wouldn't. I'm very all or nothing type of person. I'm very selfish with what I do, and like with my girlfriend, I would at the time, maybe do something, switch off from bodybuilding a little bit, but that's only until I knew that I'd done everything that I needed to do in that day, whether it's training, whether it's my food. Don't get me wrong, I would have my days where I would have a day off, and we'll probably speak about in a bit about the last 6 months and what happened with the smoking and that side of stuff. But I don't let anyone get in my way. I'm very selfish with my time. That's why I don't have many friends.
Yeah, mate. I was just about to touch on that. I was going to say you have to be. I think if you do want to achieve anything, be successful, you do have to be selfish. Like my missus, she has a go at me all the time for being so focused on what I want to do. And sometimes it's kind of like, but as long as Brendan's happy, it doesn't fucking matter what anybody else does. Which is, I know that sometimes I need to reel myself back in and feel like, you know what, I need to think about my missus. I've got a dog now. I'm not seeing my family because I live away and stuff like that. You've got to think about other things because you do get stuck in that tunnel vision so much. Just take a step back sometimes. And I was quite lucky. Well, I say I was quite lucky. I caught COVID about a month ago. I wouldn't say I was lucky to catch COVID, but I had like 10 days when I was just a write-off, but it gives us that 10 days to kind of take a step back and think like, right, what do I need to do? Do I need to maybe sacrifice an evening one night just so I can like FaceTime my dad or something who I haven't seen in age or something like that, anything like that. You have to take that step back. And then you mentioned there about you don't have a lot of friends, but I think I'm the same in terms of you want to have a small circle, just like close circle of friends who kind of all on the same mission. You probably like, I know obviously you're good mates with AJ. Is he your coach or you're kind of doing your own thing at the minute?
Yeah. AJ's my coach.
So if you're surrounding yourself with people like that who are on the same mission, who are like even people who are like a few steps ahead of you, they're going to be driving you on. And obviously, if you don't mind touching on it, you mentioned, I think it was in a previous podcast with AJ, the Beyond the Stage one, about splitting up with your girlfriend, maybe because of things that it was stopping you from stepping forward. I mentioned to you on the notes that I've had a relationship before that was stopping me from stepping forward, and I knew that it wasn't the right thing. So it's so important having that sort of close circle that is on the same mission and going to take you that step forward.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I have more friends online than I do in person.
Yeah.
A lot of the time when I actually started YouTube, a lot of my personal friends at the time, which I hadn't spoke to in about 5-6 years, were just like not laughing, but I could tell they were taking the piss. It wasn't like, how are you doing that, sort of, as a lot of people say that happens, but it wasn't like that. It was just, I could tell that they weren't really into that sort of thing. And I still see it now, you know, even when I'm just holding a camera in the street and people are like, what the fuck is that guy doing? But then they'll go home and watch a YouTube video later that night. And I'm thinking, like, you don't really see what goes behind that sort of, especially YouTube, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I mean, I just went my separate ways and I'm totally fine with it. Like, I thought I would be upset when I was younger about it. Like, oh, I've not really got many friends. And I must admit, I've had my down times, you know, when I've had a bad day or things hasn't gone my way. I sometimes think about that side of things. But at the end of the day, I really don't care most of the time unless something goes really wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to touch on about, I put it in the notes as well, about you literally not caring. Like, some of your videos, you just literally say whatever the fuck comes to your mind and not having to worry about other people's opinions, especially in today's world where you say the one bad word and like everyone's on your case. That you might call something gay or you might tell someone to fuck off in a video and everyone's kicking off. It's like,
yeah,
how do you kind of, is it just something that you've always been like, just not really caring too much about other people's opinion, or is there anything that you've kind of had to learn over the years to just care about yourself and not worry about what other people think?
I think if you look into people commenting, because everyone has an opinion. That's what I've realized. Everyone's got an opinion, whether it's positive or it's negative. You can't please everyone in life. And I've just come to realize that if you just do you just stick to yourself, and someone will like it. There's someone in this world that will like it. And I've luckily enough found a kind of, I try and find a unique way of doing things. I think, right, especially a couple of years back, I was like, a lot of people, luckily there's more honesty now. I see it a lot more on social media. But when I first started, it was more of a unique selling point for me. Like, I was quite honest. People could relate to that sort of thing. And that's kind of how I built more of an audience online. And just me being me. And I just thought, hang on, let's just do that. Just do what people aren't doing and tell people the truth about what's happened in the day and what goes on behind closed doors, because everyone just wants to post the great stuff, you know. Everyone wants to see the positive, but no one wants to really see the downside of it. So I just post everything and just keep it honest. That comes with its downfalls, though, I must admit, because then you do get people, like, if I talk about mental health, then I do get someone messaging me like I'm the bloody counselor or GP, and I'm just like, no, mate, like, this isn't my expertise. Like, go and speak to a specialist about that side of things. But sometimes there are, you know, positives out from it, like, oh, you being honest about this, being honest about that has really helped me out. And I'm thinking, really? But when I sit there and deep it, I think, actually, you know what, it could help someone. If I can help one person, it's better than no one.
Yeah, it's powerful, the platform that you've got, though. If you're getting people who are messaging you and opening up to you, like you're the counselor, so it's powerful that the power that you have to kind of let someone feel that way, that they can actually message you and open it up. So whatever you're doing is obviously working, and the more people that kind of just be real, because you can tell the people who will kind of keep everything all like glitz and glam and all happy daisy on like social media, Instagram and stuff, and then the ones who put the real stuff out. I think the ones who do put them real stuff out are the ones that they might not have as much of a following. They might only have a few thousand followers, but the engagement they're going to have with those followers that they've got is going to be a million times more compared to the people who might have millions of followers and, like, I don't know, they might get one message or something every so often with people who actually care about that stuff. So credit for that.
I totally agree.
100%.
Totally agree on that.
Yeah. So we'll touch about the mental health side, about, because I've listened to previous podcasts with yourself in when you were at uni, you had a little bit of a stint, I think, when you felt a little bit lonely, maybe a little bit lost. Talk us a bit about the period you were going through, and then obviously about the smoking weed and how you've obviously stopped that recently as well.
So it started in my second year university, where I had two other housemates, and sometimes they had a housemate. I was in Southampton. One of my mates used to go home for the weekend because he used to live in Portsmouth, and one of them, other friend, used to go out a bit more than what I did. So that just left poor old me at home. And at first I was like, I'll just play fucking PS4, just play it, you know. But after a while, it's just like, you know, I'm playing PS4 every single day and I'm not doing anything else. And then you actually do sometimes realize, shit, I'm actually getting lonely. And then it got to the end of the third year, and we're like, right, boys, what are we going to do for the final year? We're going to still live with each other. And then one of my mates was like, I'm going to go live back at home in Portsmouth because it's going to be easier for me to commute back over to Southampton. I was like, fair enough. And mate was like, oh, I'm going to move in with my other friends that I've got on the course. And I was like, okay, so what am I going to do then? And in my third year, I had to end up living in just like a house full of people that basically, it was only 4 of us in total, but it was basically people that didn't have anywhere to live sort of thing. So I didn't know any of these people. It was just a case of one, it was German, another Canadian bloke, and some other bloke that had totally different goals, totally different interests. So it never would have worked out. And yeah, it just started from there. I was just like, fuck me, like I just kind of felt really lonely after that sort of period of time. And obviously, like I said earlier, I wasn't able to just go home every single weekend. So I kind of had to suck it up a little bit. And I'm quite, with those sort of things, I was quiet about it until I actually opened up, and I was like, actually, fuck, I feel better about this because other people can relate to it. But at the time, I was quite quiet about those sort of emotions. And, you know, after a while, it did fucking dig yourself a bit of a hole that you can't get yourself out of. And I became lonely. And yeah, I came quite depressed from that, actually. I'll be honest. I look back now and I think I was actually really miserable, like curling up in a ball, crying myself to sleep, you know, all this sort of stuff. Looking out a window, I think I could go head first out there. And I never thought about that ever in my life until I was like 20. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. So yeah, loads of weird shit happened. And that's where I kind of opened up my eyes, like, shit, I actually need to probably speak to someone about this. So I actually went into the university, and university do offer support like that, luckily at the time, and probably they still do that now. And I spoke to the university people, and they were actually really helpful. They just said, look, this is quite common. You're not the first one that's came in today about this sort of thing. And just knowing that other people were suffering made me feel better. As horrible as that sounds, it made me feel better because I felt people could relate to me. So that's when I started expressing it on YouTube, and then even more people started relating to it and understanding. So yeah, that's where it all started, mate. The last year was a really tough year for me mentally, but I'm that type of person that don't really give up. Like, I can just fight through that sort of stuff. And yeah, it might be a big problem, but I always say there's light at the end of the tunnel, so I always work through it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you talking about that because, like you said, the more people that talk about it, the better. Like, I had my own journeys. I've talked about it in podcast. Everybody's probably going to have a period of loneliness at some point, whether it's when they're 20-year-old at university or when they're 60, 70-year-old or 80-year-old when they lose the missus. Like, everybody's going to, at some point in your life, you're going to have that period of loneliness. But it's just people find out at different stages. And I was thinking beforehand, like when we were younger and you had that period, like when you're on your own, for some reason, you never like do feel that lonely. There probably is kids who do feel that kind of way. Like maybe they've been abandoned by their parents or whatever it is. But you just get to a certain point in life and things change, and maybe you don't feel like you're connected with the world or connecting with other people. Like, you were living with people who you didn't really connect with, and they're not really in the same mindset. So maybe you feel a bit lost. Like, am I the weird one, or am I doing something wrong? Why am I kind of feeling this way? So it will take time. And if you've talked about it, and people have seen it on YouTube, and you've probably end up meeting people because of it, and then connected with them, and they share their story, and then you end up realizing, you know what, shit, I'm actually all right. Like, I'm on my own. I'm not on my own. Sorry. There's other people out there who being in similar positions, and we can just like chat. Like, this is why I enjoyed the podcast, like, because other people open up about their stories. There might be someone listening to this podcast who's been through a similar thing. So yeah, the more you can open up, the kind of better from there. Talking about sorting your head out, because I like it every time in your videos on YouTube before you go for a workout, you're like, sort this fucking head out every single time. How important is bodybuilding been for you, for your mental health?
I'll be honest, mate. It's not as big as what you'd think. It really isn't. It's because I do it more because I actually love it. I don't do it because it clears my head. I can flick the switch like that quite easily when it comes to things like, if I've had a shit day, cool, I can flick the switch. Let's go train now. I don't really use it, as weird as that sounds. I don't really use it as a coping mechanism for my stress or whatever. I know it's a hobby for me. It's a passion, but it's also my job. And that's why I get paid to do what I do, so I need to be on point with that. And I'm very good at just flicking the switch with most things. So believe it or not, mate, I know it's a bit of a boring answer to that. It don't actually do much for me mentally. I just know that it's a part of my day. I do it every single day. It's routine. It's just same old sort of stuff. Nothing changes regardless of had a shit day or a good day. Still get it done, you know. It's just a part of the process. It's such a shit answer, I know, but it's so true. I don't want to lie to you and say, oh, it's done this to me, it's done that, because it doesn't. It really doesn't. It's just what I do, you know, I do on a day-to-day basis.
No, I love that. I think a lot of people can probably relate to it. It's just something that they enjoy doing. Like some people probably think we're weird that we actually enjoy doing that sort of stuff so much. But once you get that kind of itch and get that kind of addiction to whatever it is, you kind of have to do it. How did you find your 3 weeks off training? Because I know you just came back from a little stomach issue. How did you find that? Did it kind of not training like change you mentally in terms of your productivity? Because I like to use training a little bit as a kind of momentum builder for like my week or for like going to do some work or whatever it is. How did you find that in terms of everything else?
It was hard. It was physically, mentally hard because I lost about over a stone, about 20 pounds in about 3 weeks. It was like a mini cut done in 3 weeks. I was like, fuck me. I was only eating like 1 or 2 meals a day, and I could just see my body just decline quite swiftly. But I knew that was needed in order for me to sort whatever issue out it was. And I think most of it was down to stress, a lot of it. And the big thing that I've learned from that issue was just controlling, managing my stress. And those 3 weeks I was on point with just like meditation. I bought like a journal, started journaling, all that sort of stuff, had a diary to write out what I needed to do for the day to be all more organized. And, you know, when I started doing that, I all of a sudden this sort of had like it was like a I don't even know what you want to call it, like a balloon in my stomach that was just really tight all the time. And ever since I just controlled things better, it just disappeared. And all of a sudden I woke up and I was like, I'm totally fine. What the fuck? I've had this stomach issue for the past 4 months. I've not been able to keep food down. I've either been sick or gone to the toilet 10 times a day. And a lot of it was just stress. It was just stress. And the mental side of things was just seeing me lose. Like, I didn't weigh myself too much, but I did weigh myself here and there. And I was like, fuck me, I'm another 4 pounds down from last time I checked. And I was a little bit anxious going back into the gym because I didn't want to find out what would have happened. You know, I didn't want to find out where my strength was because I've worked so hard to build it up to where it is that it just went like that. And I'm still trying to, obviously, I'm 4 weeks back into it now. I'm still trying to actually get back to where I was originally, but it's the scale weight. The biggest thing was the scale weight because I pushed really, really hard. And AJ actually was the first person to see it like firsthand what I was going through because I actually stayed up his at the weekend. And he was like, right, just take this week off, mate. Like, I'm not happy with what you're doing. You look awful, you look drained, you look tired, you look stressed. And I was like, you're right, mate, I'm absolutely fucked right now. And he's like, yeah, just take a step backwards. And ever since he told me to do that, yeah, it was hard for the 3 weeks. But the way I see it, if I took 3 weeks, I want to be training for the next 20 years. What's 3 weeks in 20 years? You know, it's barely fuck all.
Yeah. Do you find it hard to rest then? Do you think you would have rested if AJ didn't say anything, or do you think you would have pushed it maybe another week or two?
I would have kept going. I'm quite extreme like that. I have the young boy sort of mentality. Oh, I'm young, I'll recover. I'm young, but as you get like acting like I'm old, but when I got to like 24, it's like, fuck, okay. I need to actually get this checked out because I used to hate going to doctors. Don't know why. I just don't like finding out what my problems are. I just let them naturally go away. It's just a young sort of boy mentality thing. And this one, I was like, right, I'm actually going to have to go to the doctors and get this checked out. And I just thought, right, I'll just do whatever I can in that 3 weeks. So I haven't got to focus on the gym because normally when it's the gym, it's like, right, I need to focus on meal timings, need to focus on the sleep. But I just thought, right, forget about all that. It's still going to be there when you're back. And just focused on getting myself better. And luckily I did, and haven't looked back since. And the best I felt in well over a year now, which is great.
Yeah, it's taking that rest is something that's important. It's almost like you're maturing with your age in terms of your training knowledge and stuff. Because I was the same. I used to like literally train every single day, the gym wise, and then football on top of it. I used to burn myself out. Probably why I ended up getting a lot of injuries. So like it's just things that you kind of learn over time. Talking about training, maturity, and maybe some of the things that you used to do when you first started. I think I went back to look at a few old videos just to see what the difference was between your videos now and one of the videos I clicked on was you saying so it was from about, would have been like 3 or 4 years ago. It was before leg days. Like, and you know what I'm going to say about the paracetamol? Since sometimes when I have legs DOMs, I take a paracetamol to numb the pain.
Yes.
It was a while ago. Like, so I'm guessing your knowledge has changed. But is there anything like other things like that you used to do training wise in terms of like the amount of volume you used to do, or maybe your training split, how that's kind of changed over the years, the more that you've kind of learned?
So I think when I started out training, it was a lot of volume. I remember it was looking at bodybuilding.com, what are the pros doing, and copying that. And I used to chase a lot of soreness. Like I used to go to the expos and ask the pro bodybuilders, like, do I need to be sore after every single workout to build more muscle? I used to ask Big Ramy that, and I didn't even understand a word what he said to me at the time. I think the answer was no. And I mean, ever since I just actually, what was it? When I was at uni, I actually invested in the Trained by JP site. I was quite into that side of things quite early, like when he started that side of things. So I actually learned a lot through doing that. And that's when I kind of changed my training around, because I was quite influenced by him and his strength back in like, was it like 2017, 2016 time? Like really, I was like really early before it all got big, which I'm quite grateful for now. But when I was younger, yeah, a lot of volume, a lot of just doing shit that I don't need to be doing. Even I was guilty of it in my 2019 prep. I still did more than what I should have done. So I haven't really learned too much from that. But certainly this year, like even just since I've been back into the gym, I've been way smarter of what I've been doing. Like normally I'm very eager to get back to the strength I was, like seeing numbers go down. I was like, okay, I need to get back up to that certain number. But this time I've gone, right, let's just take my time. Let's just build it up slowly. You'll get there eventually. Yeah, just a maturity to it for sure. As I've got older, as I've got wiser. And at the end of the day, I preach this stuff to my clients. I need to be doing it myself. And I got to a point where I'm preaching this, I'm not even doing it myself. I'm like, okay, that's an issue there, because why are people going to listen to me if I'm not doing it myself? You know, so that definitely opened up my eyes a little bit. So certainly just growing with age and maturity with training, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think that shows the value of having a coach though, because if a coach is telling you to do something, you have to stick to it, kind of thing. And I know what it's like. If you write a plan for yourself, you finish the session, you're like, go on, I'll throw an extra set in there. Go on, I'll do an extra this. All right, you feel all right on the rest day. You're like, go on, I'll throw an arm session and I'll do a bit extra cardio sort of thing. But having that coach who kind of has the plan in place and understands that, right, you need the rest there, you need to do this, that, and the other. It's just really important, because down the line, you're going to end up burning yourself out if you keep on adding these little bits and bits up. So,
and funny you say that. I mean, AJ in 2019 was telling me to stop, but I couldn't stop. I was in a mindset where he told me what to do, but I just didn't do it. I did more, and I look back now and I think, why the fuck was I doing that? But when you're in that sort of mindset, it's very hard to change it until things go bad. You're like, okay, shit, yeah, I should have listened to him. And that's something that obviously you just learn as you go. And I know next time round, even with preps, for example, and stuff like that, I'm not going to be doing that. That's for sure, because I learned the hard way. That was I'm terrible for it. I'm always been like that. I just push the boundaries a little bit. I'm quite an extreme person when it comes to that side of things. But now as I've got older, I've changed that a lot. That a lot.
You'd rather have the mindset of wanting to do too much so than wanting to do too little. Like if you as a coach, if you've got a client who's like hardly doing anything, hardly filling out the spreadsheet and stuff, like you'd rather do someone who's completely overdoing it, because then you can try and rein them in. It's harder to try and push someone further than rein them in. Yeah. So you're probably blessed. It's a blessing and a curse at the end of the day. So in terms of bodybuilding training itself, you talked about before how your kind of volumes kind of changed, because one thing I've noticed over the last few years after looking a bit more into bodybuilding, probably because of JP, really, the kind of high intensity approach to training, like the one all out set to failure. When did you start implementing that sort of style of training, a little bit more intensity, lower volume sort of stuff?
Probably, I'd say about 5 years ago. You know, actually, ever since I started following JP in 2016, I started following that principle from quite early doors. So yeah, it's been a long time now. It's been a long time.
How do you find it? Do you think it's like a mental approach? Do you think both, like the more volume RPE sort of way does still work, or do you think kind of there's one way that's better than the other? Or do you think it just depends on the person, like the mentality of the person?
I think it depends on the person, because at the end of the day, volume is still a driver for hypertrophy. Like doing more is a driver. But when you look at it in terms of, if I'm lifting, say, let's say 100 kilos on a bench press for 10 reps, and next week I do it for 12 reps, you know, you've added 200 kilos worth of volume from last session to the next. So in fact, you are actually adding volume without even you realizing it. I would certainly say with the volume element of things, it's very individual. Like everyone, I've coached hundreds of people now, and I've realized that people respond to things better than other people. Some people don't need as much. And it's just, if you can find that within your own training, then you can just rinse and repeat, and then you will get the results, regardless of whether it's high volume, low volume. It's just what works for the person themselves, really.
Yeah.
I've just learned that over time, and that's why I'm not really judgmental on what people do anymore. Like if someone wants to do a higher volume split, then by all means, as long as they're progressing, that's the main thing, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, I've been a lot smarter with that side of things instead of just being very closed-minded, saying, no, you need to do that. You need to do that. I was like that, but now I've realized it doesn't need to be like that.
Yeah, there's so many different ways. Like I follow Jeff Alberts at the 3DMG a lot, and he literally does his volumes not a lot. He does like maybe two sets of squatting for leg day, 2 sets of hamstring curls, some calf raises. But he's obviously been doing it for what 50, I don't know how many years he's been doing it. So everybody's different. Like you follow him and look at his session, and think he's not doing that much there. And then you look at someone like AJ does quite a lot of volume with the high intensity, and then there's people like the Revive Stronger in what's his name, Steve Hall, that's the one. Yeah, sometimes I think he's kind of switched over a little bit more towards the high intensity I've seen, but he's a little bit more volume based. Everyone's slightly different, so it's just about whatever kind of suits you. I like the in terms of the training I'm currently doing. I like the kind of all out 2 or 3 sets, maybe 1 or 2 sets, because you just know that you put your mind into everything into that one set, and then each week you're just trying to beat them numbers. So in terms of, I agree. In terms of your training as well. I think you mentioned it before in podcasts and YouTube videos about adding bands and stuff. You used to bash it a little bit back in the day about adding resistance bands, daisy chains, all that sort of stuff. When did you personally kind of start to change your mind about that sort of stuff and start implementing it into your own training?
I would say about 6 months ago. I only do it on some things though. I must admit, I don't do it on everything. Like I see some people reverse band the Smith press and they're only doing a plate aside. And I'm thinking like, foundations are still key. Like getting, like for me, I've done 450 kilos on a leg press before, and my legs still look like shit. And there's something going wrong there. Like, and my form has been good. Like I get full range of motion. You know, I've done all of that, and something was clearly wrong there. So I incorporated the band about 6 months ago, and ever since I started doing that, I just felt a whole different entire stimulus, and especially my legs. Like I was really focusing on developing my legs. And then since then, I was like, wow, okay, yeah, I'm not lifting as much, but I'm more interested about how that actually feels when I finish the set. Because it was all good moving weight from A to B, but if you're finishing the set and going, oh, I don't necessarily feel that where I wanted to, is that really, is that good? It's a good thing? Now, I think there's a balance between, like, for example, an RDL, like a barbell row, these sort of movement patterns, you don't necessarily have to feel when you finish an exercise, but majority of things you should be, like a leg extension, hamstring curl, even a hack squat, a leg press, you should be finishing a set and going, fuck me, I felt that where I needed to. And I fell in the trait of just moving weight from A to B and trying to get strong like that, which does work to an extent. But certainly since I've been focusing on actually progressing, but then thinking about the internal stimulus, the internal drive, and finish that set going, actually, I feel that where I need to, I'm getting the best of both worlds. I'm getting the metabolic stress from the blood flow. I'm getting the progressive overload. And yeah, the progression's slower, but it's accuracy. It's perfect. It's perfect progression. It's not just me adding 20 kilos from 1 week to the next. It's me adding 5 kilos maybe every other week, but still keeping the form the exact same, still feeling the exact same way like I did in the first week. So it's definitely opened up my eyes for sure. Like I said, I see a lot of people now do it on absolutely everything, which I don't necessarily agree with. I still think like the reverse band, like incline Smith machine press, that, you know, you see someone that's only 60 kilos doing it and you're thinking like, come on, build some foundations. But when you fit that sort of plateau, when you've exhausted what you can in terms of progression, like I sit there and think, how many more plates can I add to a leg press before I fucking kill myself? You know? So there's a fine balance between it. But ever since I flicked that switch in that terms of training and focus on like intensity methods, so 2 counts in the contraction, more continuous reps instead of me standing up on top of a hack squat for, let's say, 5 seconds and then getting 4 extra reps because I'm fucking giving myself a rest at the top, making it more continuous. It's been a game changer. It really has. And I thoroughly enjoy it, actually, a lot more.
Yeah, I've noticed, well, to be fair, I've had a lot of knee injuries and ankle injuries and stuff like that. So I kind of, especially when it comes to my leg training, have to drop the weight a lot and do a lot of like 3 or 4 second negatives, 1 or 2 second pause in the contraction sort of thing. And it burns 10 times much than just holding the weight up. It's a lot more of a mental game as well. Just how many reps can you go while you're in that kind of like, normally the last 2 or 3 reps start to burn if you're just kind of lifting the weight up and down. But if you're slowing the range, like slowing it down completely, it's like 5, 6, 7 reps that are like, fucking hell, this is tough and challenging. And a lot of people, I've started training my clients that way as well, and say they could get 60 kilograms for 10 on a bench press. You drop that tempo down, they could probably only get 5, but they mentally fail before the muscle actually fails. So I find with a lot of beginner lifters, a little bit more volume seems to work a little bit better. And then as they've kind of learned to push themselves to failure, drop that volume down a little bit and increase the intensity. That's helped quite a bit. But it is a mental thing. If you're not mentally up for pushing yourself all the way to failure, that style of training is not going to work for you. So you've got to
it's a skill. It's a skill. It's
100%.
if you can learn that skill, like I've got to a point now where if I can grab a 5 kilo fucking dumbbell, I can curl it and probably go to failure for 10 reps, because my internal actual drive and the stimulus I can get from that is way better. Whereas normally with a 5, I probably do 50, 100 reps with it, you know, quite easily. But I could really tap into that side of things a lot better. And yeah, it's a skill, you know, the ability for you to hold the contractions, do the 3 to 4 second eccentrics when things get harder. So towards the end of the set, you know, if you can do that and your first rep looks the exact same as your last rep, that's a really good skill to learn. Because a lot of the time, and I have this still with clients that are maybe inexperienced, that they start off doing the intensity methods that I prescribed then after a while they just want to move weight and they kind of lose that sort of, not drive to do it, but they just lose that sort of thought process to do it. And I'm seeing their training footage going, you're not following exactly what I said. And like, oh shit, no wonder my training's starting to stall. I'm like, well, there we go then, you know. So it really is a skill. And if you can be patient with it, if you can learn it, then it will take you that extra step, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think it helps with longevity in terms of training as well, rather than just trying to shift. Like I said, I've had a lot of injuries and stuff, and I found my joints are a lot better from just dropping the weight and just focusing on actually working the muscles that you want, rather than, for example, in squats at the bottom of the rep, just bouncing up and down, your tendons and your ligaments are the thing that's just going to be taken over then, rather than the muscle. So adding little pauses and stuff, especially on compound lifts, but it's just that much harder, which is why people don't really like to do it that much. Yeah. So moving on, we'll move probably to the last little bit about your online coaching business and YouTube. So when did you start YouTube again? Was it about university time you started it?
Yeah, my second year of university, it was I started on just doing student budget stuff. My first video was a bodybuilding food shop on a student budget. That was actually one of my most viewed videos on my fucking channel still.
A lot of the time, I think, because people, when you find a new channel, I always go back on the first video to see what's like a Christian Guzman's video, for example. You go back on his first one and look at it just to see how far he came. So what was the reason you kind of started it? Was it for just someone said, oh, you should do YouTube, or was it?
I love watching YouTube. I used to love it. Sit there. I used to watch Physiques of Greatness, Chris Jones, Christian Guzman as well. And I was thinking, these guys make a living from doing that. Why can't I do that? So I thought, right, what is unique at the time? And I don't even remember Sean Thompson. He used to do a lot of like student budget stuff, and he kind of fell off of it a little bit back then. I thought, right, there's a gap there I can feel that's available now. And I think, right, I'm a student, I'm on a budget. I do bodybuilding. Let's see if people will watch this sort of stuff. So I started doing all that sort of 4 days of eating, food shopping, day in a life of a uni student. And I think by the time I finished university, I had about 3,500 subscribers, something like that. So I was quite privileged in the year and a half that I did it. I built a bit of a following from it, which was good. So it allowed me to kind of say, fuck this, I'm not getting a full-time job, or I'm not doing anything I don't want to do. I can just focus on trying to do what I want to do. So that's how it led into the online coaching side of things. I just decided to take on a few people for free, had the audience to do so, and people were like, yeah, buzzing. I had like 12 people. I was like, fuck me, I can't take 12 people on. So I took like 2 people on at a time. And then I started charging people, and it just kind of went from there, mate. And I've never looked back since.
Did you get any criticism or anything for people that you live with at uni? Did they give you any stick for it, like videoing yourself and all that, or not really?
In the last year, it was a little bit awkward because obviously I was living with people that I didn't know, and they didn't really understand what I was doing at the time. So I kind of kept it. When they were downstairs, I'd stay upstairs, but when they used to fuck off, I used to come downstairs and just do a little bit of recording, that sort of stuff. So they never really saw too much of what I did. My other housemates, they were more supportive of it because they did the fitness. They obviously watched a few YouTubers, so they were kind of already aware. But yeah, in the third year, they didn't have a clue. I kind of kept that quite quiet, really. And that's one thing in my videos, you don't really see too many people in it. It's mainly just about me. There's not really many people that feature in the videos. And I've always just been like that. I don't know why. I think it was just because at uni, I had to sneak around and not let people see what I was doing. Weird, very weird.
That's what it is. Yes, I was going to say, what do you think helped grow your channel? Was it a combination? Because I know I feel like it's a lot harder to try and grow on YouTube these days, because you've been doing it quite a while. And I see the people who have started to, like Bridgman started getting a bit big, TM Cycles and stuff, yourself started to grow over the last few years. But you've been doing it for what has it been, like 7? How many years would it have been? 7-ish years?
I've done 4. It's 4.
4 years. So it's still been quite a long time. See, a lot of people would kind of give up after 1 or 2 years if they're not getting anywhere. But what do you think kind of helped you? Was it a combination of doing, like, I seen you used to do a lot of like their food challenges and stuff like that, like the kind of generic videos, full day of eatings. But also, do you think it's important to kind of add in your own sort of individual knowledge as well as just getting them videos that just go viral and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time it was, a lot of it was just me and me doing what I did. Back then when I started, it's not like everyone nowadays wants to do YouTube. Everyone now has a YouTube channel, and they might not have crazy amounts of subscribers. They might have like 50 subscribers, but there are loads of people doing the same shit that I do. Whereas back 5 years ago, when I first started, it wasn't as popular as it is now. So it's a lot harder to build that sort of following. But at the time, I was just right, just do me, and now I look back and laugh at some of the videos and think, what a tit. But people used to love that sort of stuff, you know? I think you have to have a balance between providing value, providing entertainment, and also trying to fit in with the trends as well. Like there's a lot of trends going around. If you can get one of those videos that kind of, and the thing is, I see a lot of it, like for example, let's just use Brandon Harding as an example. You know, he's got a great following, but from what I've seen, just knowing him and following him, like he has, and we spoke about this earlier about engagement, his engagement in terms of like loyalty and just general people that just watch his stuff. It's not like people know him inside out, if that makes sense. And that's what I find quite different. When I started, it was a case of people knew quite a lot about me. I kind of kept it real, kept it relatable, which definitely did help build that following. I think nowadays everyone just tries to copy everyone else. It's just too much copying, which for me, I see it, and I've done it before. I've been guilty of just trying to copy what other people are doing, and it's never brought more engagement round. You know, the amount of times I've looked at, let's say Brandon again, I've looked at what he's done in terms of videos, gone, oh, I can replicate that. Tried to use a clickbait title. Nobody fucking watches it. It's like, fuck's sake. Like, how has he got a really good viewing on a video and I've got something fucking that's got half the views I normally would get? So just sticking to what you do best, and that unique selling point, like I said to begin with, is what will increase your following.
Yeah. Do you ever worry that if you get like too big that you'll lose that connection with your audience? Because I've been following people who have went from like kind of like yourself, like still got a decent amount of subscribers, but you kind of have that bit more connection with the audience. Then you go like Brandon Harding, like obviously he used to be smaller. Try to think like Joe. Do you watch Joe Dorian's videos? Have you ever watched his old ones when he used to be? I've
watched these old ones. Yeah.
Used to go on like Tinder dates and stuff like that, and Ibiza and stuff like that sort of thing. Now he's very mainstream. Like that sort of feel like they kind of disconnect a little bit, and it's kind of the doing very mainstream. Do you ever worry that it'll kind of get to that point and you won't? Because I could obviously, if you do well, it might end up happening, but it's hard to kind of keep that engagement at the same time.
I don't think so. No, I think if the opportunity came up, I'd want to say like, look, I still want to do what I want to, you know, what I am in a way good at. I want to keep it to myself. I want to be who I am and not having to say, oh, buy these supplements, every single thing. These are really good. This is one, even though I've never used it in my life. I know as I've got deeper into knowing bigger people in the industry, I know that there's a lot of things that are, you know, fair, not bullshit, but they will say, oh, I'm using this, I'm using that. But reality is, I know just by knowing them that they're not using those particular brands or supplements. They're just sponsored, because I don't want to fall into that trap. And I've always been quite honest about that. No, I don't think I ever could, even if I had, because for me, I'm not money driven at all when it comes. If someone offered me like an amazing contract, say come to my protein and you'll be on this money and that, I'd probably go, you know what? Yeah, the money's great, but I don't use any of your products. Can we negotiate something else? You know, I'm that type of person. I'm not really that type of person who'll do it for the money, because money's great, but it's always going to be there. You know, I don't want to be someone who's fucking balling every fucking, I don't know, he's got loads of money. It's not really my thing. I'm just keep to myself. As long as I'm happy, I'm all right.
Exactly. As long if you end up losing yourself, if you get offered something that isn't you and you end up doing it, but you get loads of money, you're kind of going to disconnect from yourself, and you're not going to be happy at the end of the day. There's only so much money that you can get. But yeah, I was going to touch on about the James Smith thing we mentioned at the start of the podcast about his little Instagram post. There was a lot of interesting comments, and he's put I said to you before, he's just put like another thing on about kind of biting back at the bodybuilders. He mentioned about the pigeon chest comment that Jack made. He brought that up as well. I think he might have had a little screenshot in. What's your opinion on what he was saying about kind of like he's happy doing his whatever, he's these 10,000. What was he doing? He was happy doing 10K runs and doing that and being pretty much not being in amazing shape. And the 1%, 1 or 2% of bodybuilders that do it, fair play to them, but the rest of them, you're creating eating disorders, this, that, and the other. It was kind of, he was fishing, but some of the stuff he said could obviously hurt a few people.
It wasn't his greatest post, I must admit. I've seen a lot better posts from him. I think he was very opinionated on the situation. And the thing with him, though, is it's great to have an opinion, but if he, and that's what I said in one of my comments, which I said, like, you haven't walked the walk. So I could understand if you have coached people and you've done all of that and you've witnessed that. But for him to say that a lot of people have got eating disorders, a lot of people do it because they want to, get noticed and they're self-conscious isn't exactly true, because that's not always the case. And he hasn't done that for him to be able to, I could understand if he competed and he's got eating disorders, he's coached people and all his clients have got eating disorders from it, but he hasn't. He's just got an opinion on it. And that leads to, unfortunately, other people that, as you can see from the post, a lot of people have other opinions upon it. And I think I think he knows what he's doing, in the sense of, it's good engagement. Like I think I saw like a photo where he gained like 1,800 subscribers in one day or something, like from just that sort of topic. So he's very smart at what he's doing, but at the same time, it's very closed-minded. Competing for me isn't just all about that. Yeah, I mean, the look is great, but it's a challenge. Like for me, it was a challenge that I've never ever done before in my life, and I'm always up for new challenges. And I surprised myself with what I was able to do. Like committing to a diet for 37 weeks of the year was a fucking long old time to be dieting. And I didn't know I could do that before I got into it. And it just made me love bodybuilding even more. I didn't get an eating disorder from it. I didn't lose too much from it, other than a little bit of muscle towards the end of the prep, which I knew was a part of the process anyway. But I certainly believe there's a lot more. And I've coached people that have competed and they've never had any issues from it, and it's made them more disciplined. It's made them more regimented. They've found, and I've even helped people find a passion for bodybuilding that they didn't think they had. So again, there's a lot more to it than what he's obviously just posted. And I think he's very closed-minded about the situation. So I wasn't a happy boy when I read that in the morning.
Yeah, no, it's like he's bashing people's livelihood sometimes, because people live for that stuff. And if that's something that's got them out of a dark place, like, you can't be bashing it. It's better. They're probably in a better place now than they were. And something as well, I've just been thinking about when you're talking, obviously he's big into his like jiu-jitsu, and I know what's professional sports like at the highest level. When you're trying to play a week, like maybe for example, for football, 2 games a week. I know what it's like in football in terms of like the overuse of like painkillers. I know lads who are taking like 100 milligrams of ibuprofen before games. That's like, was it five tablets of the 200 milligram ones? Like a lot of it. There's a damage that can be done in every single sport. Obviously, bodybuilding, you can do a lot of damage to yourself with certain things. If you do go assisted, you can obviously do it the wrong way. You can go too low calories and kind of go down that route. So whichever sport you're in, there's always going to be people who make it, like, put a bad name for it. And there's a lot of things that aren't out there about the kind of anti-inflammatories and painkiller sides in professional sports. So that can just be just as bad as doing the wrong thing in bodybuilding. But so there's kind of like, he is very close-minded into that. But like you said, I think he's just done it for a bite, and he's gained, I think you said, about 2,000 followers from it. So he knows what he's doing. Whether or not he actually like means what he's saying, we don't know.
And at the end of the day, he was that guy as well. He's that guy that took steroids and was obsessed about how other people looked and stuff like that. So for him to come out and say that sort of stuff, I think contradicting yourself a little, even though you've changed, that was ages ago, you still was that guy, So I think for him, I didn't rate it at all.
Hey, but we're talking about it though, so any publicity is good publicity for him, to be fair. Yeah. So we're bringing it up.
As long as he's what's that saying? Something about as long as my name's in your mouth, that's all that matters, or something like that.
Yeah. He'll be happy anyway. That's what he's done. That's what he's done to get where he is. He just says a topic that's gonna like get people to buy it or have an opinion on it, and then people will share it or whatever it is, and he's just gonna build a following from there.
Yeah. It works for some people.
It does. I know. Whatever way it gets there. Anyway, we'll finish off with the last 3 questions. Did you have a little look at the 3 little Q&A questions at the end?
I did, and they're always tricky, these ones.
A little bit of preparation at the end. So, first one, 3 people you'd want to invite round for dinner or go out for a coffee with, past or present, so dead or alive.
Oh, I still think about this, because as weird as it sounds, like, and this is such a shit answer. Like, a lot of people, I wouldn't want to. As weird as it sounds, it doesn't interest me. Like, you know, when you go to expos, like, oh my god, that's him over there. I'm like, cool. Like, it doesn't like, oh, I want to get a photo of a celebrity or something like that. It doesn't really bother me too much. But if I had to really pick someone, I'd have to. Oh, I'd probably pick Dorian Yates, just because I want to know more about the 90s sort of bodybuilding. I don't know why, I've always been quite fascinated by the 90s bodybuilding, and obviously a lot of the time people say the photos never do it justice. I'd like to know a little bit more about that. But again, when I think of Dorian, I think he isn't the most like energetic sort of person I'd sit there and have a good chat with. I think he's quite like boring to speak to, be quite dry and straight to the point, which isn't a bad thing. I don't know. I don't honestly, mate. That was the first question I saw, and I was thinking, "Fuck, I've been asked this before, and I didn't know how to answer it." You know what? I'd just bring my mum and dad, because I just enjoy my.
Mate, you're not the first person to say that. I've had 2 other people say that they said, "I want my mum, dad, and my auntie to come around." Just said they're not really bothered about having famous people or whatever.
Yeah, I'd have my mum and dad, and I'd bring Diesel. I'd just bring the dog.
Speaking of that, I've heard my dog. I've got a little cockapoo. She's just sat outside. She was scraping on the walls. She's just sat laying down now. I was worried she was going to come bombarded in. Next question. Classic. So 3 people you'd want to train with.
I would like to train. I'd always want to train with JP, because I've always just been a big fan of his. James Hollinshead, I'd love to train with him. And the final person would probably be. I'd probably train with Flex Lewis and just be at the Dragon's Lair and just being in that sort of environment. I think that would be quite sick. Back when he used to have like his preps and he used to invite everyone round, I'd love to be a part of that. That's for sure.
That would be class. And then last one thing you said to yourself 5 years ago.
Take the risks. Take risks. Like when you're young, I was, what was that 5 years ago? 19. Less responsibilities. Just take the risks. And you've got nothing to really fall back on. Nothing to really do any damage. So just take the risks and fucking go for it. And if you lose out, you lose out. There's always next time. Not really losing too much from it. Take the risk.
Perfect. I love that. I always say the younger you are, the less risk you have. That you don't have house mortgage and all that. So just try different things. Yeah, 100%. Lovely way to finish the podcast. Do you want to shout out your social media? Like I said, I'll tag it, your Instagram stuff down below, and coaching. How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, first of all, just thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed it. It always helps on the rest days, when especially work from home and sort of counting down the clock for your next meal and like fucking I want to go to bed. So no, I appreciate you inviting me on. It means a lot. Social media, so George Osborne 12. My lucky number's 12. I don't know why. It's just actually I do know why. Funny enough, it's related to football. When the first team I'm sorry I'm waffling on there, but the first team I played for, they just gave out bloody numbers from 1 to obviously 11, and I was number 12, which meant I was the first sub. And I was like, fuck's sake. And then all of a sudden I was the top scorer in that, and I started every single week. So that's how I was number 12. YouTube is just George Osborne. I'm not that MP bloke, because normally typing George Osborne, it's like that fucking political MP fucking twat. I'm not him. I'm hopefully not. He just always comes up as really annoying. One day I might be more famous than him. I mean, the names are spelt the exact same as well, which is annoying. And that's pretty much it. My email, georgeosbornecoaching@gmail.com, if anyone's interested in that side of things. I don't really use anything else, I don't think. Is there anything else? I think there is
Twitter, I don't use Twitter or nothing like that.
No, I don't really. I don't really do Facebook side of things. That's the main 3.
Spot on. I'll put them all down below in the comments in the show notes for the podcast. But like I said, mate, it's an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you very much. The dogs just came in as well. Come on. Oh, where are you going?
Dogs got featured on the podcast. Yeah.
Nola's made it on the podcast. Hello. There we go. That'll do with wrapping up. Spot on, mate. Cheers. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, lots of love.